Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Evidence, the podcast where we dive deep into true crime cases, uncovering the facts and exploring the unanswered questions that keep us coming back for more. I'm your host, Marv, and I want to thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can find links to my PayPal and Cash App in the description. Now, let's get into today's topic.
In the shadows, where the truth lies, Marv's on the case, with justice in her eyes. Unsolved mysteries, voices lost in time. She digs deeper, uncovering the crime. Beyond the evidence, she'll fight the fight. Beyond the evidence, where justice matters. Marv's the voice for the voiceless, breaking all the patterns, facts and theories, clues and controversy. Join the journey, uncovering the mystery. This is Beyond the Evidence, where justice prevails, with Marv leading the way. Truth never fails. Now get ready for this live stream. Super chat, highlight your message. Don't fall victim to the irrelevance. Hit that like, share, subscribe to Marv's Beyond the Evidence.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Marv, reporting from Kokomo, Indiana, where this morning, right at lunchtime, we learned that Flint Farmer was acquitted, found innocent of both the murder charge and the voluntary manslaughter charge. It was a devastating blow to the family, to Karena and her memory. So first of all, for all of you in here, let's light up the chat with those purple hearts. Karena's favorite color was purple, and we usually do this at the end of the live stream, but today let's show her family some love and show Karena love and post those purple hearts in the chat, please. There's a lot of reactions. Like I said, it was devastating for the family. There were some jury members who were crying. Let me just say that a little bit before 11, we were notified that there was a verdict. We all ran up into the courthouse through security, into upstairs where we sit and stand and wait. We were told that the verdict was going to be read at noon. So we all kind of dispersed and waited, came together. The jury, the individual that was in charge of the jury came out, said absolutely no cell phones in the courtroom. Everybody had to keep their phones outside. We all filed in. We were told that anybody who has been there for the whole trial would get in first, along with the family. And we all filed in, and every seat was taken. every single seat was taken. And that's never happened throughout this whole trial. The jury came in. There were a few jurors that had tears. That was my indication that we were not going to get the verdict that the family and the community was hoping for. And then the foreperson, who was one of the women jurors, read the verdict of not guilty for murder and very quietly read not guilty for voluntary manslaughter. It was so quiet that the judge had to repeat it. Everybody was, a lot of people were shocked. There were a lot of tears. There was no outbursts from either side, Flint's family or Karina's family. Her mother, once it sunk in, did sob, and I don't blame her one bit. We proceeded out of the courthouse, the courtroom, and the courthouse, and went outside. And from there was more tears. There was frustration. There was happiness from his family. And you can't fault him for that. As we stood out there and talked, and we got to talk to some of the prosecutors. I can tell you that last night the jury was split 6 guilty, 6 not guilty. I was given that information. And there is a juror that has made a quick post in response to something on Facebook that said, and I'm not going to show his name or anything like that. He just said, as a juror, they didn't show enough direct evidence. And I'm going to expand on this. I'm going to expand on this because this is my thoughts. This was a very circumstantial case. Okay. The coroner, the pathologist, the anthropologist could not determine how she died. Okay, and so that's huge. We're all thinking, how could the jury make this decision? As I said last night, you have numerous people that testified in this case that are addicts. Okay? The jury had to look at all the testimony. They had to figure out who and what they said was believable. And like I said last night, they can believe the whole testimony. They can believe just parts of the testimony, or they can discredit the person and not believe in them at all. It came down to the fact that nobody could say she was killed and didn't overdose. I am confident that that's what it was. Frank Meister, I am putting the link in here. Randy, grab it. You can also come up. I'm going to have Bossy come up also. Bossy, you were in the courtroom with me, watching. We both broke out in tears. Left the courtroom in tears. What are your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, my thoughts and prayers and deepest sympathy is with Karina's family and loved ones.
Yes.
And it's gut wrenching to hear a mother sob for the loss of her child that she's been fighting for justice for so long, 9 years. Dude.
Right. Randy's joined us also. He was in the courtroom with us.
I was sitting right behind one of Karina's sisters and behind Jerry, and Karina's dad was sitting in the same row, third, all the way back where Marv was. I saw the head juror; she was crying, and
there was a few of them that were crying.
But the only one I saw, very first thing, is the very last juror close to the judge. She was just crying, and they already had a hunt, like Marv said, they had a hunch something wasn't right here. And when she said it, was like, oh, the other sister in front of Jerry, she was crying. Oh, she went crazy.
I think once we saw all of those jurors crying, we knew this was not going to be the outcome we wanted. Let me bring Frank. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Let me bring Frank Meister up because he helped me cover this case when we were partners, and I want him
Hey, Frank Meister.
There he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Frank.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's up?
Disappointing.
Yeah, I'm not very happy, but me and you talked about this, Marv, quite a few times, and we knew there was no cause of death, and that was kind of worrisome to us.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you can't prove a cause of death, how are you going to convict a man if you don't have a cause of death?
Right.
So, and they testified on this and they were very, they asked, I'm sure Marv will get into this. So it was just a matter of, the medical examiner determines, cause of death, whether it's considered a homicide or undetermined. It's purely up to them. And so if you're gonna have to have proof to put homicide, which a lot of people could put, and other medical examiners in that case could have, but he chose to put undetermined. So, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
My heart goes out, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when Marv showed up, me and her talked, and other people outside the courthouse before we went in about who knew about the case. I said, well, I knew her a long time ago. And then
me and Marv covered this case, about 3 years ago?
Yeah.
I covered it way before you guys. So,
yeah.
So if you're just joining us, Flint Farmer was acquitted on all charges, found not guilty. However, while we were standing outside, we did talk to Prosecutor McCann, and he did inform us that he had just filed 6 obstruction charges.
And there is a warrant.
Flint Farmer.
They've already issued a warrant. It's on my case.
Yep. And I was told that one of those obstruction charges is for
intimidation.
intimidation and tampering with the grand jury witnesses.
Thanks, Gibbo.
In the state of Indiana, obstruction of justice can be from a 4 to a level 6 felony. So we need to find out what levels they are.
These are all level
Level
6.
6.
Level 6?
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
carries
So,
which carries a term between 6 months to 2.5 years, an average of 1.
yeah. Well, if he gets arrested and don't get bonded out, he sits there the whole time going to trial and he gets found not guilty, he's going to get time served.
Well,
No, because
when
these
I-
are separate
hang on.
charges, aren't they?
Hang on. When I talked to the prosecutor, I asked him, what are we looking at for years if he's found guilty on all 6 charges? And he said 15 years for a total of 15 years for all 6 charges.
Okay. So that would make it, I'm trying to think here. That would make it a level 4 or level 5 then.
Well,
No, it states it's a level
paperwork,
6.
It says 6.
Oh,
And
I
his-
see. They don't have it posted yet, so I don't know what the levels are.
It's
I'll put that-
posted.
I'll
It's level
post it on
6.
my page in the Facebook group.
But he will not get 15 years, though. That's the problem.
$20,000.
Oh, the fines? Yeah.
No, his
But,
bond is $20,000 for the charges
Well-
they just brought against him.
Okay, so he'll get bonded out. I can guarantee you that.
And that tells me the same thing. He's got money. He'll bond himself out. No problem.
Yeah. But six of those times 2.5 years is about 15 years. But like I said, once he won't serve time in jail now if he bonds out. So there's not going to be any time cut for time served. Well, that's
Right.
good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But then again, this is the state of Indiana. The max he's going to do is probably 8 years, if that.
Yeah, we just confirmed it's posted as a level 6. 10%
Slap on the wrist shit. God.
10% cash for his bond.
Yeah. Indiana, man, I swear to God. But they could prosecute him for this, but they can't prosecute the dude that they just released or dropped charges on for murder. Makes no damn sense up there in Howard County.
I know.
Well, the problem is he knew the whole entire thing where she was, and they kept it secret all this time where her body was. Oh, hold on.
So yes, if you're just joining us, Flint Farmer was found not guilty on the murder charge and the voluntary manslaughter charge, but the prosecutor turned around and charged him with 6 obstruction charges. There was a warrant put out for his arrest, and he does have a bond now, which means he will need to pay $2,000 to bond out.
Shit, his ass didn't even walk out of the jail. They just left him there because they knew.
Pretty much.
I think the prosecutor set this up because I think he knew that his case was weak. And if he lost, there was other ways to get Flint. And this is the other way he was going to get him. That's how I look at it.
Well, as I said when we first started, this is a circumstantial case.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot prove how she died.
Right.
And that is why we got the not
Acquittals.
guilty verdicts.
Yeah.
Like I said, there was a juror that made a comment on a post, and his comment was, as a jury, they didn't show enough direct evidence that he committed a crime.
Right. Which goes hand in hand with showing that they couldn't come up with a cause of death. That goes hand in hand with that. Now, if you came up with a cause of death, then you might have more evidence against Flint. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I know that all of you are waiting for the details on what happened on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I will get you those. I promise that. I don't know about Bossy and Randy, but I need a little bit of time to take all of this in and decompress.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't have anything
Yeah.
planned tomorrow, so if I have to sit down here and do a 6-hour live stream to get you all of the information from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I will do that. Anonymous podcast. The new charges are level 6 obstruction charges. So those are his new charges. And once again, we will have to go through a trial on these 6 charges in front of a jury.
Mm-hmm.
And the family will have to sit through this again. So the decision today was very devastating for them.
Oh, especially Jerry, who was really mad for what she was screaming in the courthouse. Once he got outside that courtroom, she was like upset.
Right.
Really.
Our thoughts and prayers and love go to all of Karina's family. They are hurting today. They are devastated. They're trying to.
Sorry about that, guys. My phone's acting funny.
We're trying to figure out how this could happen, as the rest of us are.
Well, he had to know those people in the jury selection anyhow. So if they knew him,
that's the major problem that I have right now. Everybody knows everybody in Kokomo.
Well, and we didn't get to hear their answers as far as who knew them, who didn't, because we were not allowed to be in there for
during
jury
the
selection.
Really? Well, yes, I have never heard of the public not being able to go to one of those.
It was because the courtroom was so small. They couldn't even put all the potential jurors in the courtroom at one time. They had to bring them in shifts.
Oh, they must have had him in an overflow room somewhere.
Just outside the courtroom in the big rotunda.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was just small.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. They didn't let nobody stand up in the back either. The guard says they all need to be sitting down. Nobody standing up in the back.
I think what hurts the most in all of this is that Brad Wheeler got immunity for burying her. As I said, you have to make deals with the devil sometimes. If it wasn't for him, she would have never been found. But it still sucks that nobody is held accountable.
Oh, boy.
Bossy, what are your thoughts?
I have just a small request. If everyone could share a beautiful picture of Karena today and flood the internet with her looks, her great memory, her light.
And the video I did of her that
yes, Randy did a great video of her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, right now this is my full-time job. I'm still looking for work from when I was
laid off.
And so this is my full-time work.
Oh yeah, we were talking anonymous. We were talking about Michael Phelps.
Fuck Michael Phelps.
Yeah, we were talking about him too.
He's a fucking piece of work.
Yeah.
He caused a lot of fucking problems with this case.
He did, and the detectives said that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he would not leave us alone for the longest when we were doing this case. He wouldn't just not leave us alone.
Yep. That would be, any donations are always appreciated. But today is about Karena, remembering her, loving her, supporting her and her family. So thank you to everyone who lit up the chat with the purple hearts. I agree with Bossy. If let's light up Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, whatever.
YouTube.
Yep, YouTube.
You
with
know,
pictures of Karena or videos.
I would have bought balloons. Jerry had a balloon there for Karena, and it wasn't going up like it was, but it went up in the air.
I did get a video of the balloon going up in the air. I will tell all of you that I have asked the prosecution team and Detective Rude for an interview. I did that a few days ago. I did not, and I'm going to repeat this, I did not take any video outside of the courtroom or the courthouse after the verdict. The only video I took was of the balloon release. I did not videotape any jurors coming out. I did not even approach them.
Yeah.
If any of the jurors see this and would like to talk to me, they can send me a message, an email to beyondtheevidence1@gmail.com. I will be more than happy to speak with any of them. I'd like to know what their experience was like as jurors, along with what drove the not guilty verdict.
When Bossy and Jerry and Marv, they all left the courthouse. Since we tell us what the verdict was, I stayed behind, but they let the jurors got out of the courtroom, so we had to move down to let them go. They did spend about 15 minutes outside and then came back in. So we saw the jurors who left and come back.
Right. And I do want to read one other thing. I just got to find it here, so 1 second.
How you doing, Bossy? It's been a while.
Oh, I'm doing all right, Frank. You know, same old, same old. I'm glad it's warm out because I'm a summer baby. I'm anxious to take my first kayaking trip, and I'm gonna go do me a little bit more into season mushroom hunting. Because I've only been out a few times this year, and I got my what is it, the old saying, I got my iron in too many fires. I got so much going on right now with wanting to support people in local communities because I care. That's why I go to these things and do it. I mean, I don't even, my channel's not monetized. Nobody knows my Cash App. I've never asked for money. None of that. I do this because, and finance myself because I care. That's why I do it. It's not about anything else. And I care about what's going on in my local communities.
Yeah.
I'm trying to start. Hear my dogs arguing. I've been having some health issues the past year, but I'm feeling better now, and I'm hoping to get my flower business off the ground this year, and working part-time doing other stuff, and just good. I'm good. As long as I stay busy, I'm good. How about yourself?
Man, I took a major break from YouTube, because we all know how toxic YouTube is. And then being involved with the Delphi case for all the years that we've all been involved in this, I needed to take a break. Like Marv said, she needed to decompress. You've got to decompress from cases like this.
Absolutely.
You're going to go crazy.
Oh yeah, I took a break too because they all wanted to know who Bossy was. So everyone everybody wants to know my real name. It's out there. I really don't care because there ain't nothing on me. So the only thing people can do is walk around and make up lies. And if that's what helps them sleep at night and that I live rent free in their head, so be it. Because I don't give them two
Okay,
thoughts.
guys,
That's YouTube for you.
Karena.
All right.
I do have one more comment from that juror. Somebody said prosecution didn't do their job, ? And this person, he said, I wouldn't say that. I was more on the side of conviction, but others didn't believe so. So,
I mean, yeah, the major question is the cause of death. And I mean, for us, all the cases that we've all covered before, and if you don't understand, if you can't get a cause of death, man, it's going to be hard to prove to convict somebody for a case or a murder if you ain't got a cause of death.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, that's just common sense. And I hate to say that if Jerry's watching or Karena's mom and dad are watching, and I'm not trying to be rude, but
Now,
you know,
Karena's grandmother's on here.
oh, well, I'm not trying to be rude, but that's just how the justice system works. If you can't get a cause of death, it's going to be hard. And like I said, me and Marv talked about this 50-50 yesterday, you know, and then when she said no cause of death, and I thought, well, damn, man, how are they going to convict him if there's no cause of death?
Right.
So,
let's see here.
Well, and what I have to say on that is we all have a final judgment day.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh yeah, of course. And we got a new pope, guys. He's from the United States.
Yep. What was it? Robert Provost.
Yeah.
Yeah, Provost. Yes, from the United States. Yeah. I was looking like that.
Bye, Jerry. Get some rest, please.
Yes, please get some rest.
We're thinking of you, Jerry.
Brittany, they're going about it already. They've charged him with 6 counts of obstruction. They cannot charge him for anything to do with her death because he was acquitted. And it would be double jeopardy. Thank you for all of those in the chat answering that already. Let's see here.
Gina.
Yeah, and whoever's saying that I had my cell phone on in the courtroom, you would be greatly mistaken.
Oh, I know.
Hang on. We were told on day 1 by the lady that takes care of the jury that we were allowed to have our cell phones in the courtroom. They just couldn't be on while court was in session. Yesterday, after court was done, I turned my cell phone on, I got the time, and I turned it right back off. And I was accused of recording the hearing or the closing statements or whatever. I met the judge. He wanted to know why I had my cell phone in the courtroom. I explained to him that the lady that takes care of the jury told us several occasions on day 1 that even though the sign was on the door, we could have the cell phone in the courtroom with us as long as it was turned off. Today, she made it very clear before anybody entered that courtroom that nobody could have their cell phone in that courtroom.
Can I respond to? Can I respond?
Hang on. I also took my cell phone and I showed the judge my camera roll and told him that if he wanted to look at my photos folder, he could certainly do that. But if he was going to enforce the rule of no cell phones in the courtroom, then the lady shouldn't be telling us that we could bring it in as long as we didn't have them on while the court was in session. So, and
Can I ask,
Mark can verify because he was sitting right next to me.
let me answer this question real quick, Marv. But an anonymous podcast wanted to know if the family could sue him civilly, and yes, you can.
Yes, absolutely.
And the burden of proof is not as high as it is in criminal case.
And if the family sued him civilly, he would have to answer questions on all questions in a deposition, along with any other witnesses, family members, anything like that.
And then in a civil suit, if you go to trial, there's only 6 jurors. It's not 12, it's only 6.
The OJ case is a good reference for this.
Yep, exactly.
Marv, state what prosecutor said about overdoses and burying. Okay. The prosecutor, along with detectives in this case, stated that in 2016, there was only 2 fentanyl overdoses because the defense made it sound like Karina's grandmother was handing out pressed Xanax and killing everybody in the community. Pressed Xanax didn't even come into play until later in 2016, towards the end of the year, is what I was told. And the prosecutor and the detectives also stated that they have never seen somebody who had overdosed be secretly buried.
I mean, I would have to disagree with that because I've followed many cases where that's happened, where somebody dies of an overdose or an accident, and the person that was with them freak out and they go dump the body somewhere.
I agree with you, Anonymous podcast. Yeah, this isn't about Delphi. This is about Karina. This is all about her.
Yep.
And it does still piss me off that they gave old boy immunity who went and buried her.
I agree, but like I said, it's making a deal with the devil. And had they not,
look where it got it.
well, had they not, the family would have never gotten her back.
I get that. I totally understand that. But it's almost, how can I say it? You did right with what he did, but then again, it didn't do any good as far as getting a conviction.
Yeah.
No, everything that we were told about Gabriel Ellis involved in Karina's case could not be verified. In fact, we were told that those were false leads. The only thing that the police could confirm is that Karina had been at the Wheelers' apartment and that she left with Flint and went to his apartment.
Now, is this after they all went, or whoever went to the village pantry?
So they had been at the Wheelers' apartment. They left, went to the village pantry, went back to the Wheelers' apartment, and then went to his apartment.
I gotcha.
Yes, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Please do not attack anybody for their opinion. Yes, there was witness testimony that Farmer admitted to catching her in his crap, and panicking and breaking her neck.
Don't always understand that, like, he should have called the cops. The police,
Yes,
if it was an accident, like he says it was an accident, he should have called the cops a long time ago. But no, he tampered with murder, and he knew exactly where the body was.
Yeah.
He was basically afraid that they were going to pin it on him for her supposed overdose, is what it was. So it was all about saving his own skin.
Yeah.
So that just tells you just a glimpse of what type of person he is.
Right.
Fucking Kung Fu Panda is what he looks like.
Yeah. His looks have changed a little bit. He's thinned out. I mean, he was thinned out more. And
for how many years?
I guess now the next step is him getting bailed out and where he'll end up and facing these new charges and having to go through another trial on these 6 obstruction charges.
Mhm.
And as I said, one of those charges is for intimidating and
Witness tampering.
witness tampering with the grand jury. So
Pure evil. They couldn't prove her cause of death, so they don't know if her neck was broke or what the circumstances were and the cause of her death.
right. So as I said last night, they looked at her remains were degraded bones.
Yeah.
Okay. There was very little soft tissue left. There was a little bit on her stomach. There was no ligaments, nothing like that. Okay. She was skeletized. They couldn't do any toxicology. And in women, the anthropologist told us the hyoid bones usually don't fuse together until a woman is in her 30s and 40s. Okay. And I did verify that with others that were in the courtroom because I was told I was giving out false information that it was the 30s through the 50s. I did verify that.
That is correct, though, because the thyroid bone, if it's not fused together, what is there to break when it's not fused together?
Right,
So
right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's why they couldn't determine it, because that bone wasn't broken because of her age.
And something else that they touched on was, you might not have even been able to tell just by looking at her. There's other telltale signs, like, I forget the name of it. I have it wrote down, but it's like little red dots, like that could be like underneath her eyelids, or things that you need to actually examine
The petechiae.
tissue of.
Yes.
Yeah. And the same for, you can't determine from a skeletal if someone's neck was broken, because the tissue that connects your spine together, that's soft tissue.
Yeah,
So
and it's gone. I do want to say that there were 2 witnesses that testified that were not addicts, and did not do the hard drugs. So they gave their testimony, and were devastated today with the verdict also. And when and if they want to talk, I'm here to talk with them also. Yeah, it's called petechiae. And there was no signs of
Strangulation.
or asphyxia. Right.
Right. Blood vessels busted in the eyeballs.
Skylar, they did not say anything about blood being found in the home, the garage, the shed, nothing. Yes, and we are very thankful for these two individuals' testimony. Um,
I got a question, Marv. When the Wheelers, when he supposedly took Karena over to the Wheelers and left her there, did they realize that she was deceased or what? How long
Yes.
did it take till they realized it before she was deceased?
Immediately.
Alicia knew immediately that she was not alive.
Wow. Shit, I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, I understand they're bad into drugs and they don't want to be involved with the police, but my ass would have called the police immediately.
Well, and here's something. Part of the defense was they were hammering on the Wheelers. Why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you call 911? And finally, McCann came back and said, you know, she was at the defendant's. Why didn't he call 911?
Exactly.
So
This would have been all over with a long time ago. Why didn't they call 911?
Anonymous, they could not do toxicology because there was no fluids and soft tissue.
Right.
So the only thing they could do was take the bones out of the bag and put them in order on the white sheet and look at them for any trauma. No trauma was found. So
they
it's not like
they-
the other cases where they can do toxicology and all that. It had been too much time had elapsed.
So that were they able to recover her whole body?
They recovered most of her body. There was a few bones in her very small bones in her hands and her feet that weren't recovered.
Yeah. The metacarpals and yeah. Wow. Oh wow. Oh.
No, Spencer, they did not talk about anything being cleaned up at the house except for the fact that Brad Wheeler took her from the house in the living room on the carpet she was laid on and put her in the shed, and then the next day pulled his truck up by the shed, took her and placed her in the bed of his truck and put
Hey, Marv.
What?
April Bittner's message. She said, "I would be happy to speak when I could clear it with KPD and the prosecutor."
Yep, I knew that.
Okay.
And April and her husband are the two that I'm talking about that are not addicts.
Okay.
And did come forward with information.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if you have not watched the first few live streams with all the information from court, please go on the channel and watch them. There's 1, 2, 3. Last night we did a broad overview of Monday, Tuesday, and what happened yesterday. Tomorrow, if Bossy's available, we will get online here and spend hours going through all the details from Monday and Tuesday's testimony so that you guys all can hear it and know what happened. Because I know that's important and people have been asking questions. So, unfortunately, I had to go back to Wisconsin Monday, so I couldn't get a live out. There was a lot of driving in a short period of time.
Unbelievable. This is unbelievable.
It's like they said, it's like he knows a lot of people in Kokomo, and if some of those people that was questioned, they know him and could have lied, so he can be able to not be charged.
They can talk about the case, because these are obstruction charges. These aren't their specific testimony. But we'll double check on that. And also, I just lost what I was going to say.
Was the phone call brought up during the trial with his son? Marv?
Bossy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We heard phone calls between him and his son, between him and his sister, numerous calls between him and his sister. And I believe a phone call between a couple phone calls between, he has 2 daughters. I know several between one, and then I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know at least one phone call with his other daughter. I believe. I don't have my notes in front of me, a lot blurred together, but I will
That
check
came
on
to my mind because I do recall when they arrested him in the PCA, they talked about one of the phone calls with his son talking about they found that girl.
Yeah. Anonymous, don't worry. I will never put this case in jeopardy. So I told April and Jeff that even if it's months down the line, whenever they can talk, that would be appreciated. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I believe a lot of these obstruction charges are stemming from the phone calls that we heard in court. And a lot of it comes from testimony that we have not covered in depth yet. And it comes from the calls with his sister. I did ask if his sister was going to be charged with anything, and I was told that that individual didn't know. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
So, man, he's going to have the judicial system and his family on his ass for a while. Sounds like.
We'll see.
Wow. But, all right, Marv, I'm going to get out of here. Let me know when you do another live when you're going to cover some more of this so I can be there.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Good seeing you, Bossy, Randy.
Take care.
Mark, you still in here?
Yep. Thank you.
Take care, Frank.
Have a good one, guys.
All right.
Later.
Bye.
Let's see here. I don't know why some of these won't show up, but I just want to say that once again, our thoughts, love, and prayers are with the whole family. Her mom's side, her dad's side, all of her sisters and brothers, cousins. I've had numerous relatives reaching out to me. And we just want to take a little time to remember Karena and her life. It wasn't perfect. It was difficult. There were addictions. We know that now. And we can't say for sure how she died, whether it was an overdose or by the hands of another. The jury has concluded that it was not by the hands of another. That is their decision. We have to respect that and everything that they went through, everything that they looked at, and go from there.
Well, even the judge told us if you don't like the outcome in that courtroom, you'll be arrested.
You're right. Let's see here. Some of this stems from Maria, the fact that they were threatening individuals. So, we'll have to see what happened.
Mhm.
We have to respect that the process everything went through the process. We don't have to agree with the verdict. I don't agree with the verdict. I think there was more than enough evidence to prove that he was guilty of manslaughter, at least.
Oh yeah, I can understand that would be enough there to prove it wasn't an accident. How, like you say, it was an accident. How could that be an accident?
Right. You don't secretly bury somebody when it's an accident.
Yeah.
And that was kept and said throughout the closing statements and throughout the trial. So, I can tell you that, there's new people coming in and out. The jury was split last night. 6 guilty, 6 not guilty.
Mhm.
The juror that has been talking through comments online has said that they did not prove it. They did not prove they didn't show enough direct evidence. And that is why some of the jurors could not vote guilty.
Mhm. And the other thing is, I think they were ready to get out of there. That was another thing. They were in a hurry to
Right.
get the heck out of there. We're done. I know you want 6 voted guilty and 6 voted not guilty, but I think there was an argument in that room.
I agree. And I think
They
that's
could
why
have easily had a hung jury.
Yeah.
and that's the problem. And I'm going to say this to everybody watching, okay? If you are assigned to a jury and you firmly believe in guilt or innocence, do not let somebody change your mind just because the others say so and want out of there. Hang the jury. Do not let a verdict through.
And the other problem is when we saw those two ladies crying.
Right.
They wanted the guilty charge.
Right.
You can tell. But you have all guys that probably coaxed them to, hey, he's not guilty somehow.
Right. I will get the attorney's names, Ms. Bojangles, and I will give all that information out in tomorrow's live. I know his main attorney's name was Deckert. And I don't know how to pronounce the other attorney's name. So I will get all that information. In the end, it had to be a unanimous decision, Skyla. So everyone voted for not guilty in the end. Let's see how.
I think that's why it lasts longer last night, trying to make a decision.
Right.
I have to step away for just a moment.
That's all right.
That's all right. And I'll put up that photo that her grandmother loved
Yes, please do so.
and stuff later on. Hey, Mark, was luminal indication made in the shade?
They did not talk about luminol at all or the blood. I think what I want to close with is this, because April says it best. Karena was perfectly Karena.
Mm-hmm.
All of us do things in our lives that we wish we hadn't done. Okay, we make mistakes. That's what makes us human. But you have to remember that she was loved. She was a daughter, a sister, a granddaughter, a friend, a cousin. And what I was told is that she wasn't only the heart of this family, she was the glue that held it together. And that glue is now gone, and this family is fractured. So Karena meant something to a lot of individuals, and they loved her. They said she always had a bright smile. You know, that is what we have to remember. And yes, her life was taken way too soon. The only thing that we can do is honor her memory going forward as individuals, as a community, and don't just turn a blind eye to those we know that have problems with addictions, with drugs. Keep fighting for your loved ones and your friends to try to get them off of that and away from it. I think if we can learn any lesson from this, that is going to be the biggest lesson that we learn. Never stop fighting for your friends and your loved ones to get them away from those addictions. Bossy, any final thoughts?
I just agree that, you know, we all have a past. People make bad decisions, and regardless of anyone's lifestyle or choices, that doesn't mean that that something bad or harm, someone has the right to harm them.
Right. I agree.
Also, my thoughts and prayers are with all of Karena's family, loved ones, the community. Communities really do come together sometimes in this, but that family's persistence is what got this case to the point it is now. And one persistent detective. So
Exactly. Randy, your final thoughts?
My final thoughts when I was watching the both sisters of Karena, I was really hoping that it would be good news for them, but not today. But hopefully these 6 new charges on Flint Farmer will be held in court, and he'll get guilty charge on it.
I agree. I will talk to Bossy and set up a time that we can come on here tomorrow and finish giving you all of the testimony from the trial that has been missed. I will put it on my personal Facebook page. I will put it on the Beyond the Evidence Facebook group page and on the community page on YouTube so everybody knows.
Mhm.
Troublemaker says, my final thoughts. Thank you for keeping everyone informed with a honest podcast. Thank you so much. Before we go, once again, please flood that chat with the purple hearts in memory of Karena. And before we go, I want to give a shout out to Helen. You will know who you are. I spoke to your daughter today. She said that my channel is the very first YouTube channel that you've watched. You're invested in this case, and you've been watching each and every show since we started it. And I just want to say thank you, Helen, for watching. And my thoughts and prayers are with you also in your time here. Helen isn't doing so well, so please, everyone, say a prayer for her. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all of you who have donated. I appreciate it. This is a fan-funded YouTube channel. I do not make a lot of money from views, I can tell you that. Most of it is from the donations from all of you. So thank you to everybody who has donated. I really appreciate it. I love you all. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.